We see Jesus in the midst of a story as he's gathered around. He's in this circle with all these sinners, tax collectors, people that you would consider outcasts in our society. And the religious leaders kind of standing off to the side, and they've got their little, what is this Jesus guy doing? Are you serious? Do you understand who he's hanging out with here? These are some of the worst people in society, yet he seems to be close to them. He seems to care for them. And the religious leaders are almost in shock and awe that a guy of such religious standard would take time to talk to these people. And as Jesus seems to kind of hear what they're saying in the mumbling in the background, he launches into what we call these three parables: the parable of the lost coin, the lost sheep, and then the one I want to tell you about, the lost son. And as he jumps into the story, he begins talking about this younger son. We're kind of thrown into the story, and the younger son seems to be a person that's full of himself, a younger son that's selfish. He only cares who he is. And we're thrown right in as he says, "Father, I would like my inheritance now." And as I read this a little bit, it's kind of shocking to me, because if you really get down to what he's actually saying, he's almost looking his father in the face, and he's saying, "Father, I wish you were dead." A son looks the father in the face. I wish you were dead, because what he's saying is, I want to receive all that you've worked for, everything you've put your blood, sweat, and tears in throughout your life. I want to get all of that now while you're still alive. And the son looks at him and he says, "I wish you were dead." And the father, we don't seem to get much of what's going on in his head, but it seems like he has no conversation. It seems that he has no pushback. It seems that he just gives his part of the inheritance to the son. He packs all of his bags up and he heads out of town to go spend his money on everything he wishes he could pleasure himself with. Walking around and people are looking at him like, this guy's got it. This is the guy that I want to go hang out with. This is the guy that's got all the money. This is the guy that I want to be close to, because when we're going to the restaurant, he's paying the whole bill. When we're going out to party, he's paying for all the drinks. And he spends all of his inheritance pleasuring himself with parties, by sleeping around, doing whatever he can to fulfill himself. And whether we want to believe it or not, I think so many times when it comes to our emotions, in these moments, we start to feel these emotions like, I would really like to feel how that is. I would really like to feel like the world does. And so just like the younger son, so many of us are in that position in our lives right now where we start to feel these things that aren't true. Well, maybe I could just have one more drink and it would feel good. Maybe I could just suppress those feelings that I've been having that I haven't dealt with from my past by partying. Maybe I can just push the boundaries further and further in this relationship, because I don't want to have to deal with the pain in my life, because it's just too hard, and I would feel much better if I did these things. And the son seems to not even think about his feelings for a second. He pursues those with everything he's got. And he finds himself just probably weeks later, a famine hits. This is when everything is gone. There is no food, there is no water, there's nothing. And this guy is empty. He's broke and he doesn't know what to do. He hits rock bottom. So often when we pursue our emotions to sin, we hit rock bottom. And the younger son now doesn't know what to do with his life, somehow persuades a local farmer, "Can I just feed your pigs?" Back at the farm, he was able to take care of the animals, do the chores, have a roof over his head. He was able to sleep warm at night, have a dad that loves him. And because of one choice he made, because of his selfish desires, he is now left feeding pigs and looking at the terrible slop that he's feeding them and saying, "That looks good. Are you serious?" And in those moments, relief seems to be our only option, the only thing we're thinking about when we've chosen to follow our emotions into sin. We just want relief. And the younger son says, "I want relief." And he decides to start rehearsing his speech. "Father, I'm a terrible son." "No. Father, I can't do this." "Father, I'm not even worthy to be called your son. Listen to the words coming out of his mouth. I don't even deserve to be called your son anymore. A son is not something we earn. It's something we're born into. You can't earn sonship. You can't earn daughtership. You just are given that at birth, and he wants to revoke something that's not even given to him. That's how low he is. That's how much he thinks of himself. And the son says, I'm not even worthy to be called your son. Will you at least hire me? What? You're my child. And can you just imagine just for a moment as God looks at you, and I don't know what you come in with, but can you imagine standing before the most loving person in the entire world, willing to give his son for you and saying, I've done too much in my life, and I don't deserve to be in your family anymore. The Father looks at you with tears in his eyes and says, there's no way that you can think of yourself like this. But as he rehearses it, he thinks it's the only option left. As the father, who knows how many days he's been going at this, how many days he's looked out that front window as he pulls back the curtains and glances out and says, maybe today will be the day that my son comes home. And he glances up just to see if maybe down off in the distance, in the road ahead of him, that his son would be coming home. But today's not the day, and oh, what I can't imagine those mornings as he sits there on the front porch with his coffee, as his tears start to come down his eyes, and he says, well, maybe today my son will come home. And he glances one day, months have gone by. I guarantee there wasn't a moment in those days he wasn't praying for his son. There wasn't a moment in those days he didn't forget about his son. There wasn't a moment in those days that he didn't care about what his son was doing. He cared about his son going home. And I'm here to tell you, your father is the same way as this father in the story. There isn't a day that he's looking out the window hoping you will just come home. You may be thinking about the sin you've done in your life. You may think about the decisions you've made in your life. But I'm telling you, there's a father that doesn't care about what you've done in your past. He cares about where you're going in the future. What he cares about is to know that you are loved. And he waits for you. Maybe this will be the day that they come back to me. Maybe this will be the night that they'll come back to me. And I can't imagine the joy that fills the father's heart as he looks out the window. And he peeks out the window just for a second, and it's almost like he's in this routine, that daily basis. Well, let me peek. Nope, he's not coming. And it's like he peeks out the window and he looks out again, and he's like, there's no way. That's my son. My son is coming down the road. That's my son. He starts running. He throws off his sandals and he starts sprinting down that driveway. Rocks are going between his toes. He doesn't care. He can't feel pain because the love goes over all the pain. As his son looks up, he's got this kind of, what? Is that my father? Like, is he coming down running? And it's like as they meet, the father with just the warmest embrace to his son. You're thinking about the pain, the sin, the wrong direction you've ran from God. This is what's going through your head. And in that moment, the embrace is so beautiful. And you are so loved. You are so loved. And the son starts to give his speech, and the father can't even let him have any words and cuts him off. And then it's almost as if to say, don't worry about it. I still love you. Maybe some of you, that's what you need to hear tonight. Maybe what some of you need to hear is that the Father still loves you. And whether you believe it or not, the Father will always come running for you. The Father will never turn his back on you. And those moments when you feel like you're too far gone, like there's no way that I can come back home because I've done too much. God can't forgive me. God can't save me. I can't do this anymore. Don't for a second think he doesn't love you any less. For the moment you start to turn to go home, the Father begins to start running towards you because he's waiting for you. I'm in awe of a father with a love like that. And it seems to shock the religious leaders. I can only imagine the moments of sitting around Jesus, that it's like these people, the mixture of emotions that go around everywhere, and Jesus is looking at each and every one of them, that there's a father who comes running and a father that still loves you. You're not too far gone. You're never too far gone.